Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Sports Week, the main talking points on tonight's programme here on STV. Brendan Rodgers agrees new 4-year deal at Celtic. St Johnstone fine Richard Foster and Danny Swanson 4 weeks' wages. And Caixinha's looking forward to his visit to hell. Interesting topics tonight. Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin. We are going to look over all the football in all 4 divisions of Scotland and cast our eye towards the Premier League in England. Alongside Ruffy on Friday, as ever, our boot-room guest is from the Daily Mail. It's Hugh McDonald. Delighted to have Hugh with us here. Let's first of all cut to the chase. Major announcement at Celtic. This is what Peter Lawwell had to say.
Celtic Football Club is delighted to announce that we've agreed a new contract with Brendan. The term of the contract will be 4 years and it will run to June 2021.
Hugh McDonald.
Good move, signing the manager up. I think there's been no downside to Brendan Rodgers coming aboard for Celtic, and it's onwards. I think there was kind of rumours that Arsenal etc. might have been interested, but I actually think for Brendan Rodgers at the moment, this is a good place for him to be.
Yeah, I think it's obviously great for the fans. I think it's a worrying time for all the other clubs involved. I think now they will put a lot of money into this. It'll be interesting to see what kind of players he brings into the club. And I think all the other clubs know where the gap is just now, what the gap will be, in 2 or 3 years, for heavens knows.
What commitments do you think Celtic might have had to have given the manager?
I think essentially and primarily they've got to have a vision. They've got to have a strategy for him. They've had to sit down and say, well, where are we going? And that strategy has got to include Europe and where they're going in Europe. I think there's rumours about him being promised a substantial transfer budget. I think in the situation they're in at the moment, where they can wheel and deal in the transfer market, plus they'll be looking at guaranteed Champions League money, that can be done. The fans have bought into the stadium, to the project, and far as season tickets are going up. So I think the commitment will have been to him, listen, we're going to get you money to make you competitive, not just in the group stages, but probably to give you a whiff of the last 16. But that's a hugely difficult market to break into, Peter.
No surprise that the Celtic manager is more than happy.
Exciting period for the club, and working with the players, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. What I've always tried to do going into clubs, along with my staff, is to improve individual players, make them better and make the teams better, and then ultimately get a feeling around the club that is exciting and on and off the park, and that's obviously our aim to do that here. So for me, I couldn't be happier. I'm in the best place I possibly could be. I'll be eternally thankful for the board for showing that trust in me, and now going forward over the course of the next 4 years, that commitment from us all to look to grow, develop, and it's my responsibility to lead the football development and ensure that we can continue to progress.
Well, it's interesting, in Ronnie Dyler's first season, I always felt as if he was trying to convince people of his qualities. Brendan Rodgers, in this first full season, has, if anything, enhanced his qualities by the displays of the team on the park, Ruffy.
Yeah, and I have to say as well, identifying players, that he knew could work for Celtic. Scott Sinclair, that a player that Ronnie Delia would never have been able to bring to the club. And we keep talking about the players that weren't doing particularly well, and he's made them better players, and Armstrong's one of them. So he's in a complete and utter comfort zone at Celtic, so far ahead in the league. He must be enjoying every minute of it, When the European games come along, I think that's where, don't think judged is the right word, but that's when people will assess how far he's taken Celtic, because I don't know if we're all going to be honest enough to say that this present Celtic team still need 3 or 4 players to play in Europe. Not for our league, but for Europe, they need 3 quality players.
Yeah, and of course, a lot has been made of the individual players that some people had written off, and they have flourished under Brendan Rodgers. One of them is the current Player of the Month for March, Stuart Armstrong.
We had a clear conversation at the start of the season about what he expected from me, and I had clear targets of what I had to do in training and in games, and something to work towards. You know, I could speak for a long time about different aspects of the game, of my game he's influenced, and not just for me, for other players in the team, and I think the team as a whole, and I think we're a much better outfit, as it were. And I think we've far improved, and it's only his first campaign.
Do you think they'll take the foot off the gas? I mean, it was a 1-1 draw against Partick Thistle, but they're still unbeaten.
Yeah, I think that's a great motivation factor for him. I think that's been talked about a lot in the dressing room. Ruffy will know better than me. It's not a matter of just like taking foot off the grass, but I think it's sometimes when you're a professional, it's just that maybe little 1% that you're not given, you know, that you don't even know you're not given subconsciously because you don't really have to. It's not, you know, do or die, is it? But I still think, I mean, I'm now beginning to think that, you know, it's a real strong possibility with the way they're playing that they might go unbeaten. I think that after the split will be hard because they'll be playing the better teams. But it was interesting, Armstrong, because Armstrong speaks to everything that Brendan Rodgers is about, and that is bringing, you know, improving players. That's what he says is what he's all about. And I think Armstrong has been one of the, you know, the class acts as far as improving players at Celtic this season. And he's, to be frank, he's done it with so many. I think his magic wand has touched a few at Celtic this year.
Coming up we will hear from the Rangers manager Pedro Caixinha. We'll also hear from the Hearts boss Ian Cathro ahead of the weekend football. We'll be looking at all 4 divisions, and there's quite a lot to discuss. Certainly when you look at the back page headlines from this morning, and the main crux of it seems to be Neil Lennon and the record. And of course, that one there, Don't Wreck My Semi, they've got a photograph of Neil Lennon there, Rob. It could have been Frankie Howard they could have put in that one, because that's up there with some of the best back page headlines on front page ones. The sub-editor deserves a gold medal for that one.
He certainly does, but at least I've got the right picture of Neil with a face and his expression to go along with the headline.
That's good enough,
We're all intent, I think so.
Where are you going with that? But he's managed to stay on side, and we're still on air, which is good news. And I think the crux of the story, although the headline steals it, is quite simply that he doesn't want to get a major ban. Listen, I think he's pleading a case which I think is going to go against him.
Well, it seems that way. I mean, it's just it looks as if there's going to be bans for it. I mean, it's just been an absolutely incredible 10 days in Scottish football, and that's been one of the high points or low points according to your views. But yeah, it looks. I think a ban will be more than likely.
Yeah, and of course, one of the other headlines was from the record, Roffy, which is not quite as jocular. It's just it's bang out of order. This is obviously, again, Neil, press conference number 3, and he's, if anything, maybe the steam has gone down a little from the previous 2.
Yeah, I think it is, but I think with this happening, you know, obviously everybody else getting the decisions done, and then all of a sudden he has to wait to 2 days. I can see where he's coming from, but I think the SFA will tell you that to have that kind of meeting, you need 6 or 7 people there. They've got to come from all different regions, and that is the day. But as far as where Neil's sitting, he definitely won't see it that way.
Yeah, does he have a case for suggesting to them, look, delay this, this hearing?
From his side of it, yeah, but from the normal SFA side, they'll just say, no, that's the way it runs. I mean, you committed the alleged offence. This is when we can convene the meeting. Hard lines, we move on. I don't think he'll get much sympathy over that. I really don't. Yeah,
and the other line there, which was on one of the back pages, was Connor Salmon saying he felt as if Pedro Caixinha was disrespectful to Kilmarnock for naming his team 24 hours earlier.
I don't know if he was disrespectful. I think he was daft. I mean, what upside is there? I mean, what upside is there to naming a team? I can't think of one upside to it.
No.
You
Can I
come in-
ask you if we're maybe all just, again, I think sometimes maybe there's an overreaction. Is it just a case, Ruffy, that he was highlighting, look, we've got injuries. Here's the 11 that I'm going to have to pick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it that way, Peter.
No.
I think he was at the interview, and he just tried to be a wee bit smart about the whole thing, trying to let everybody know he knows all his players' first names, that he's only been in the job for a wee while, but he knows where he's going. And I agree, I think it gave Kilmarnock a head start.
Okay. We're going to talk Rangers coming up after the break, because on Sunday it's going to be a cracker, we hope. Aberdeen against Rangers in the battle for second place. Thought I'd give you a little question concerning that fixture. If you can remember the player's name, it was a special goal and it was late on. That's the only clue. We'll give you the answer before we reach the end of this section of the programme. Two very special men here this afternoon to chat to us about football. One of them who really doesn't care if anybody doesn't like him. He's got people that do like him, that's important. And the other one who said to me only moments ago in the break that if anyone hated him, he would sob uncontrollably. I wonder if you can guess which one said either statement. So there you are. There's Hugh McDonald and Alan Ruff. Which one said that particular statement? Okay, let's cut to the chase, because there'll be a lot of people that I hope can tolerate each other up at Pittodrie, because this game sometimes can be feisty. Sometimes the poison is not really what we want to read about. Aberdeen against Rangers is the battle for second place. Is it really just being hyped up because it's already been decided, Hugh?
I think it's just about decided. I think Aberdeen are very cosy in that second place. There's no sign of them taking a step back. They're playing better than Rangers. Rangers' last two results have been draws against Kilmarnock and Motherwell, which doesn't suggest that they're going to Pittodrie in fine fettle. But I think that match now has become a fixture where it doesn't matter what they're going for. It's a big sort of grudge needle match, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game. There's always a good atmosphere at the game. You're right in what you're saying. It's up to the players to behave themselves, because obviously things on the park determine what happens off of it. So let's hope we're all talking about the football. I think Hugh's right. I think Aberdeen are on form just now. I think Rangers are going up there, obviously minus a couple of players. They haven't produced it in the last couple of games, but I think Rangers will go up there and give Aberdeen a game. I mean, Aberdeen aren't scoring a lot of goals against the better sides in the league, so I think Rangers will go up there hoping even a draw would be a good result for them, but a draw would be a good result for Aberdeen as well, because it means Rangers aren't catching them up.
I mean, what about Derek McInnes and the job he's doing? That's only one defeat in the last 11 games, Hugh. 10 wins.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to where, I've been critical of Derek and Aberdeen, when it comes to cups. I think they haven't parlayed their form into, actual silverware. I know they won the League Cup, but, I think the big game for them this season is getting to the Scottish Cup final. I think that's a huge game. But I cannot be critical when you look at where Aberdeen were when he took over and where they are now. He's done, he's taken them right through the leagues. They're now I think incontrovertibly the second best team in Scotland. He's got a good squad there that he's built up over the years. He's going to have an interesting summer, I think. Niall McGinn going, maybe people coming in for Johnny Hayes as well, who's been his outstanding player this year. But yes, I think this season's really marked him down for a really good job that he's done.
Yeah, and of course the fans are right behind him. Earlier today I caught up with an Aberdeen fan, Chris Scott, to ask him about not only all things the Dons, the manager, the players, the team, the performances over the season, but of course what's the confidence like? Is there a confidence in the Granite City that they can defeat Rangers on Sunday?
Absolutely. I mean, it would be daft not to be optimistic. The run that we've been on lately, the way we've been playing, we've either been destroying teams, or when the going gets tough, we've shown that we can grind it out as well. So whatever happens over the course of the game, whatever Rangers bring, we're pretty confident we can deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, Derek McInnes, what's your take on the job that he's done there at Pittodrie?
He's been absolutely, I mean, I don't think he's just revolutionised the playing aspect. It's the whole club. The whole club's been galvanised by his arrival and his attitude he has towards the team and the club. He respects the club's stature. He's been very aware of that and how much it means to the city. And you look at the squad that he's put together, he's added some brilliant individuals and he's got them playing well together, and the harmony in the team seems to be something that certainly I've never seen at Aberdeen before.
Yeah, I mean, the police have actually issued a warning for the fans to be on their best behaviour. Do you think sometimes, I include, myself and the rest of our members of the media, do you think sometimes we maybe hype this up too much, this ill feeling between the two sides?
I think so. Obviously, there's some animosity between the two teams and the supporters, but I think it's maybe overplayed. I think it maybe becomes part of the narrative and maybe dominates the narrative sometimes ahead of the football. I simply have, apart from the usual goading, over the barrier in the south stand, I've never seen anything that I would consider violent in or around the stadium at Rangers games. It gets a little bit heated, but I think it is overstated.
Yeah, and as far as the gap that at the moment could be 15 points if you guys defeat Rangers on Sunday. I mean, even if it doesn't go your way, do you still believe that it's too much of a gap to make up for Rangers?
I think so. You look, there's 7 games to play, 21 points. 15 points. It's big enough a gap, I think, with 12. We've lost 7 games this season. You're looking at us losing a good number of the games that remain. I just think we've got too much. The way we've been playing, we've got all the momentum. Rangers don't seem to have much momentum just now. Seem to be a little bit turmoil there. I just can't see Aberdeen being caught. It would take a spectacular capitulation for Aberdeen to lose second.
And I can't let you go without giving us your prediction for Sunday. How's it all going to end?
Tough one to call. I'm confident that we'll win, and I think we will do so. I repeat, 2-1, as it was the first time at Pittodrie this season.
Okay, so there's I think a fair reflection of the confidence in Aberdeen.
Yeah, I think so, and I think the bookies will have them favourites to win, and I would expect a home win as well. I think Aberdeen are on the cusp of some really good form. Rangers aren't. Rangers will be missing some important players. I think Aberdeen are in strong confidence. I would expect Aberdeen to win.
Yep, and as far as Rangers are concerned, Ruffy, I mean, Pedro Caixinha, I think we're all looking at his transfer targets. He's already been linked with a Portuguese player from the second division, Paulinho. I expected him to go to an area that he knows to bring in players over the summer.
Yeah, I think it was the same as the previous Rangers manager. He delved into the division that he was in. His contacts were with Arsenal and got some loan players there and Spurs as well. So yeah, that's what managers usually do. They usually see players that they've either been in the team or players they've come up against. And he'll be using all his contacts as well. I think the Rangers supporters are eagerly anticipating the first couple of signings that are going to come in, because that will be the benchmark of where they're going to be going. And so you'll determine whether it's a loan player, then you'll decide that there isn't a lot of money kicking about, or it'll be somebody they have to go and buy, and that means there is money. So I think the Rangers supporters are eagerly waiting to see what the first moves are.
Yep, and of course, Pedro Caixinha has been advised on more than a few occasions since he arrived about not only the history of the club, but the history of this game, Aberdeen against Rangers.
Everybody say that we are going to hell. And I like those hostile scenarios. I mean, football is about challenges. It's a game that we must win if we want to finish second, definitely. And it's also one game that is going to be the first of the last 7 for us. And we put one challenge to ourselves.
Well, you like to see some kind of reaction when a new manager comes in. I don't think of the many Rangers fans I've been speaking to since the Kilmarnock game, they're seeing anything from this current squad that he's inherited.
Yeah, the difficulty is that, you know, the squad he's inherited in the short space of time he's been in. I think he has to be given a transfer window, a pre-season, and then we'll see who he's brought in and how his template, can evolve. I think some Rangers supporters haven't looked at the reality of what was there, and I think Rangers really, need a real significant investment just to challenge even for second, not even for first.
Yeah.
I really do.
Rafi, if you look back just briefly at the start of our programmes at the start of the season, I thought Rangers would finish third. I thought Hearts would finish second, but that hasn't materialised.
No, it hasn't. I mean, I think Hearts have been the disappointing side, since the new coaches come in there, nothing seems to have worked for them. But I think from the Rangers' point of view, it's encouraging that the new manager has let two young boys get a game, whereas the previous manager probably wouldn't have.
Yeah, okay, and you alluded to Hearts there. We'll talk about Hearts in the next part of the programme, look at the rest of the games in the top division in Scotland, and then we'll delve into the Championship as well, because there are some very tasty games in there as well. As far as Aberdeen Rangers on Sunday, here's a wee question to tax your memory. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy Sports Week. Hugh McDonald is alongside myself and Alan Ruff to talk all things football over the course of the weekend. Join us on STV at 2 o'clock on Saturday, 4-hour show. We'll bring you all the latest news, interviews, and of course no shortage of opinion on all four divisions. And as the goals hit the back of the net, you'll get reaction here as well. Hearts now, after the misery of midweek again, suddenly the focus is more intense on the Hearts boss. I mean, I was looking at some of the Edinburgh papers, and Liam Smith says if Hearts don't stop the rot, the season will be over.
Well, I mean, in many ways the season is over, because we know they've got no cup to play for, and now we know that they're just sliding down the table. I mean, I think any chance of getting into Europe, I think, is fading as each game passes. They're just on a terrible run. They're absolutely in a free fall run, and the spotlight will go on him because he was a very high profile appointment. It was an appointment which polarised opinion, so he's been left in he's in a tough place at the moment, young Mr. Cathro.
Yeah, he lost 6 of the last 7 in all competitions, Ruffy.
I mean, that's not where they were before he went there. They were sitting, second place, free falling, doing particularly well, scoring goals for fun. And then it's all changed. Sometimes that happens when a new manager comes in. Obviously, he brought in 7 or 8 players very, very quickly, and it doesn't look as if they've gelled at all. It remains to be seen, at the beginning of the season, how he changes that, how if he perseveres with the guys he's brought in and go for another batch. But certainly, the way it is just now, I just think he's put himself under so much pressure for the beginning of the season. So you might get a wee bit of time to the end of the season, but when the new season starts, if it doesn't start positively, then he's going to be under some extreme pressure. Yeah.
Does he come under any extreme pressure if he can't get this whole thing turned around, Hugh? Because, the one thing I've always said about him bedding in with Austin McPhee is it's fine maybe changing the style, maybe implementing your ideas. You've been able to bring in some players that you want to transform the side, but this is easy if the results are backing up to buy you that time.
It's all about results. Listen, I mean, we all listened to the Anne Budge interview where she was talking about, she looks for improvement year on year, and Hearts been third last year. She was looking for improvement this year. There's only one place to go, second. They're miles away from second. They're not going to make third. So that business plan for improvement has stalled for at least a year, and people will be looking at that. I mean, not just us in the media, people in the Hearts boardroom will be looking at it saying, where did we go? The thing about Ian, where it's difficult for Ian, is that he inherited a team that was doing well.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing normally to do. But if you inherit a team that's doing well and suddenly it starts not doing so well, there's only one person that usually comes up for the blame then.
Yeah, but I actually think, we're talking about seconds not on the cards. I don't think third is, fourth definitely not. I'm looking at this side at the moment. There's a 5-point gap between themselves and St Johnstone, Ruffy. And Partick Thistle can catch Hearts. That's where I think this is the battle now. I don't think they're going to catch St Johnstone.
No, I think Hugh's touched on it. I think if you're in the Hearts camp now, you're looking at Europe. I think they really need to get to Europe. They need to keep the supporters on board. Let's not forget, these are the supporters that have been turning up week in, week out, for the last 4 or 5 seasons in numbers. So they'll expect something from this season.
Here's what Ian Cathro, the Hearts manager, had to say about that consistency that he's looking for.
There are parts where the work is translating onto the pitch. But this game is about consistency throughout 90 minutes and throughout game by game. And we've been unable to deliver that on a consistent basis and turning those consistent performances into consistent positive results.
Yeah, that's the key to it all. So it's Hearts against Dundee. Dundee, who are not exactly firing on all cylinders themselves. Of the 2 remaining games they have, I mean, these 2 before the split, Hugh, are 2 games that I think they should be winning. Dundee and Kilmarnock.
Yeah, but Dundee are in the position where they can't afford to go into that dogfight of the bottom 6, on the back of defeats. They're right in that now, and they don't. I mean, they're really been dragged into that, so they've really got to fight for something at Tynecastle tomorrow. This is a huge game tomorrow at Tynecastle, I think, for both sides.
Yeah, another point I was going to make key, just as a footnote to this before we move on to the next game, Ruffy, is quite simply Hearts are not appealing the Sam Nicholson spitting incident, which tells you all you need to know about what they think about it.
Yeah, again, I think the manager get caught out again, backing the player. He should have been maybe advised to have another look at it. We know what the spit was at distance, but the fact that it was directed at the linesman was there for everybody to see. So I'm quite happy as a club. It's not the first time the club have acted responsibly in dealing with things like that, and I'm glad they're not appealing it.
Yeah, okay. Inverness Cali Thistle against St Johnstone, the team that are above Hearts. This one, if you're looking at it in the cold light of day, you would suggest that St Johnstone could come away from the Tulloch Stadium with all 3 points, or at least a point. But Richie Foran, the Inverness boss, thinks otherwise.
I think we need to be in a better position going into that split. I think we need to pick up at least 4 points from the next 2 games. It'll give us a huge confidence boost. It'll get us closer to teams. Hopefully we'd leapfrog a few teams as well. And we're looking up. That's the only way we can look now. Other teams are looking over the shoulder, looking down, looking behind, worried. We're going to go up that table. I believe it. We're going to get the wins.
Okay, they'll get St Johnstone and Motherwell. I think they might possibly get 3 points, but I can't see them getting 4.
Well, I think it'll be difficult for them as well. My pick, for a long time, my pick's been Inverness to go down. I think they've never had a winning run. They've never had a run which looked as if, with a lot of draws, they've never had a period in the season where you say they're looking likely to get out of this. If their big hope will be if they can stay in touch until the split, that dogfight in the split, you might have to win 2 out of the 5, 3 out of the 5 might be good enough. That will be their aim. But at the moment, I see no signs of them pulling themselves away from the bottom of the league.
Yeah, and the other aspect of this is St Johnstone. A good win over Hearts. I think, if you just listen to Tommy Wright, the St Johnstone boss, Ruffy, St Johnstone are looking up at catching Rangers.
That'll be difficult, but if I'm saying that 5 points isn't a gap that you can relax with, 6 isn't a gap that you can relax with either. So, we've still got to play Rangers. So, listen, the important thing will be, to try and secure 4th place for us. If we can close the gap in Rangers, it'll be tremendous. But ultimately, 4th place will be another great achievement for us.
Listen, the last couple of seasons, I can't stop talking up St Johnstone and their manager.
No, again, we keep talking about budgets and what he's got to play with. He's got a striker, his best striker, who can't play in any of the AstroTurf parks. which he just gets on with. You know, anybody else would be making a meal of that, but no, he says that's the way it is. You know, can't play him, and he's got a group of players now that he's trying to get on 2-year contracts, and they're all signing up, which is a good sign as well. It means they all want to be together, and that's what kind of club they've been. They've just been all fighting for each other and getting the results when they need them.
Not only fighting for each other, sometimes fighting with each other. That as well. But that's all been cleared up pretty quickly. 4-week fine for both players. I think that's pretty fair, and they move on. Element of some of the fine will be used to pay for supporters' buses for travelling for games. So, I mean, it's a nasty situation. That's a bad situation. It's an embarrassing situation, but they've dealt with it pretty good, and they'll come out of it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm glad. I always expected St Johnstone to act with a bit of class and dignity. It's that type of club. And basically they've said that they've now concluded the internal investigation. It's the most severe sanctions short of summary dismissal. Thankfully, both boys have accepted without question, and as you mentioned there, they've apologised unreservedly to the supporters for their conduct. It's just a bizarre incident that happens.
I think they're very, very fortunate it wasn't caught on anything. You know, I don't think any of us have seen what actually happened. I think a couple of Hamilton boys that I speak to actually seen it, you know, and said it was as bad as you would expect. But fortunately, the cameras never picked it up. Nobody privately picked it up, so we didn't really get a good view of it. But no, I think it's good that the club, as you said, have dealt with it and they'll move on.
Okay, Hamilton Accies against Ross County. Jim McIntyre just says they need to get a run of results.
So tight, and you know, from week to week the table can really change, and the only way that you're going to give yourself breathing space is by putting, you know, back to back 2, 3, 4 your results together, positive results.
I never thought they were going to be in the mix, Hugh, just briefly.
No, near the die, but they are now, and they're in a poor run of form as well, and that's crucial at this time of the season.
Yeah, Partick, Motherwell, can you see Motherwell taking anything from the Jags after that great result against Celtic?
You know, I think Partick will be on. They'll know exactly what they need to get, and I think even a draw would be enough.
Okay, stay with us because we will delve into the Championship, look at some key games there, especially at the bottom, St Mirren against Dumbarton. We can't wait for that one, and we'll also look to the English Premier League as well. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Sports Week. So many people trying to interact with us, just asking who would be the guy sobbing uncontrollably if someone didn't like him. It's such a big dilemma. We'll probably run that right through to tomorrow's show as well, just for a real noise up. But nevertheless, we delve into the Championship. You know, and look at some really interesting games. One of them is going to be at Capello. We're going to send Kevin Harper there because I think it's fantastic. He needs to take the tin helmet with him because I don't think, and I wonder, do you think there's a call being made between both managers?
I don't think so, no.
No.
That'd be my gut feeling. I've got no way of knowing. No way of knowing. Would you think there'd be in?
If I'm reading what Neil's saying in the most of the newspapers, I don't think so. I think there's something festering there. There's things has been said, not by calling him by his name, and wee nippy things like that. And I think he's still hurting from it. I think the two of them are big enough when the game comes along to shake hands before it. Just hope that nothing happens in front of that Capello dugout, because these two dugouts are so close together, it's unreal. And I just hope that there will be a sort of a person in between there on watch for the 90 minutes.
Well, here's what I think. I think I'm with you. I can't see both of them speaking to each other, this week. But I do think there's been a separate call. I think there's been communication between Hibs and Morton.
Possibly,
even on an individual basis, as if to address the situation and the need for, discipline, calm attitude to it all, and not let it fester into, a game which, Hibs are edging ever closer to the Championship. Morton know their fate. They know it's playoffs.
Yeah, and I think Hibs win tomorrow as well. It's almost champagne time, isn't it? We all love edge in the game, I do. I love a bit of edge in the game. I love a bit of going into a game with a bit of needle and all that. But yeah, you don't want it to spill over into anything that particularly would bring a crowd into play. But I think it'll be okay tomorrow, but I think there'll be a really edgy atmosphere, a really kind of acrimonious atmosphere.
My biggest worry is it's so soon after the last one. You know, if it maybe been a month or 5 weeks, but it's so soon, and we're still talking about it. So if we're talking about it, the supporters will be talking about it, the players will be talking about it.
My fear for the fans, Ruffy, is I hope they don't serve up the 89 minutes that I witnessed at Easter Road, because that one I don't think we could sustain watching it again. But could be a good one. Let's hope they play football, and we're all talking about that. Here's the fixtures in the Championship for you to look forward to as well. There it is here: United Queen of the South, Dundee United Falkirk, Dunfermline Wraith Rovers, Morton Hibs and St Mirren against Dumbarton at the bottom. This is where Jack Ross wanted to be, in charge of his own destiny, with a chance to finally, you know, just drag them to the point where, you know, they can get away from the relegation.
Yeah, interestingly though, you know, for all the great talk and the proper praise, and he's you know, he's been lauded with prizes as you know, and praise as a manager, and correctly so, for turning it around since January. They're still bottom of the league.
Yeah.
That league is hugely interesting tomorrow. I mean, the two games, Ayr United hosting Queen of the South. Ayr United have to, you know, that old bounce back quickly. They have to really get back on track, you know, after the pounding last week. But the other game, I've always had a notion that Wraith Rovers would be involved at the bottom.
Yeah.
And Dunfermline, Wraith Rovers, a Fife derby tomorrow. If Dunfermline win that, and I expect them to win it, Wraith Rovers are really in it.
Yep, and have a look at that table in the Championship. It is tight down there, and St Mirren have a game in hand on Ayr United as well. It's a tough one. I've always said, Ruffy, I think St Mirren can get out of it, and it looks as if they could even you know, get out of a playoff as well, which some thought was beyond them.
Well, the form side, you know, they've been picking up points in the league. Okay, they get beat in the Challenge Cup, but it was still a good performance, and that's what they're built on. They've been built on the games they're winning. And last week's score, if they don't go into tomorrow's game at home with a lot of confidence, then I expect them to win that one.
Okay, from the Championship, here are the fixtures in League One in Scotland for you to look forward to tomorrow. Airdrie Brechin, Albion Rovers Stranraer, Livingston Alloa, Queen's Park Peterhead and Stenhousemuir against East Fife. And in League Two, Berwick Rangers Stirling Albion, Clyde and an Athletic Edinburgh City Cowdenbeath, Elgin City Montrose and Forfar against Arbroath. Here are the English Premier League fixtures. Tottenham Watford, the early kick-off. Can they catch Chelsea? Manchester City against Hull, Middlesbrough Burnley, Stoke City Liverpool, West Brom Southampton and West Ham Swansea, with Bournemouth Chelsea at 5:30. Could be really interesting indeed. Well, earlier I caught up with Ian McGarry, our English Premier League correspondent, and asked him, first of all, are we just waiting for the coronation of Chelsea?
Should be, Peter. That's given the nature of the win over Manchester City. It was attritional, it was effective, wasn't particularly stunning or full of flair. Obviously, Hazard's first goal was a deflection from the head of the Manchester City captain, Vincent Kompany, and then the second one was a penalty at the second attempt. But fine margins, as we know in this game. John Stones, free header in the last 10 minutes, and then a quite remarkable miss, of which I think you've seen one up north recently as well. So it should be. But hey, we've got to think about one thing. Spurs, in 88 minutes, were 1 goal down at Swansea. Not a good place to go. Swansea fighting for the lives. Score 1-1, and then remarkably 2 more goals in added time. Now, at 88 minutes, I was thinking, same old Spurs, the merchants of bottle. But no, they come back. And important to bear in mind, on Saturday, Spurs are at home to Watford at 12:30 kickoff. They could be 4 points behind Chelsea when Chelsea kick off away at Bournemouth. Very good draw last night with Liverpool at Anfield at 5:30. So one of the great things about the Premier League is it does throw these things up, like the Palace win at Stamford Bridge last Saturday. You can't really say it's over until it mathematically possible.
Well, that brings me nicely, Ian, to my next point, which is Zlatan, never short of opinion. He hasn't committed. United haven't finalised another year for him. I think the overriding factor here must be that Zlatan is saying, well, wait a minute, I came here to win things, came here to play Champions League. Who are you going to sign to help me here?
True. There are two things going on here that's important to take into account. The first is Zlatan has a clause in his current contract which automatically triggers another year at his current £240,000 a week salary plus bonuses. Now, you and I would think, well, why is he not triggered that already? He's already top scorer, 27 goals in all competitions, 19 in the Premier League, absolutely become the fulcrum of this team, etc., etc. So what's the problem? Why is Zlatan not committing? At 35, is he going to get a better next season than Manchester United? Well, two reasons. One, he wants a better contract for next season. So he wants the 240 grand a week contract torn up, and he wants down 300 grand a week, which is kind of what Wayne Rooney earns. And Wayne Rooney, we widely expect to leave Manchester United at the end of the season on a free transfer, effectively. So Zlatan wants to be top earner, top boy, probably wants the captaincy as well. That's the first thing. Second thing is, yes, he came to win things in Champions League qualification and this, that, and the next thing. But there's no doubt that Manchester United are gearing up for a massive splurge in the transfer market again this summer. Antoine Griezmann is a top target. That's going to cost £89 million. They've been in touch with Alexis Sanchez, who we think will leave Arsenal. I personally think they need to shore up their defence. I think everywhere else they're okay. But Paul Pogba's been a very big disappointment. And I think it's because he's been played out of position. He's been played in central midfield on a double pivot, they're holding two. He spent more than 2 years on the left side of a three-man midfield at Juventus. I think Mourinho's aim is to play Pogba further up the park in the attacking midfield trio behind a striker and with a new or existing central holding midfielder coming in. So at Manchester United, looking at least 3-4 going out and probably 3 coming in, but 3 at very high level.
Yep, as you can spot, I had a haircut and changed my shirt in that last interview there. It was just a dramatic change from one day to the next with me, Ruffy.
Master revolution.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
Absolutely. And another thing, I don't know about you, but as I was watching that, I thought, if you're not a football fan, you're looking behind Ian and thinking, look at the nick of that door and the state of his house. That's what people do. They do that, by the way.
I'm glad I've not got Skype in my house.
Yeah, exactly. Ruffy? I mean, yours is just a gallery of all your achievements. It's unbelievable.
But unfortunately, they're all golf trophies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there's medals dotting about here and there.
The odd World Cup shirt and all that.
Strips in the odd cupboard.
Absolutely, and people wearing Zico pyjamas, honestly. I mean, how lucky are they? Simple as that. Okay, thanks very much to Hugh McDonald, who cares not a jot if some people don't like him. You just have to live with it. And the cuddly Alan Ruff, who really wants you to like him, and if you don't like him, he will be really, really upset. So join him tomorrow, please, if you can. Thanks to Ruffy, thanks to Hugh McDonald, from myself, Peter Martin. Good night.